Hey guys, STLYoungblood with you, and what I want to do today is start up a new series called the Captain's Log. And if you followed me in PlanetSide, I did a series called Captain's Log there, and basically it's like a flight school. Some of it is as I learn, I'll kind of share some of my knowledge, some of it's as I read and gather information, I'll bring it to you guys. And I'm going to provide tips, tricks, advice, guides, tutorials. It's a help you learn to be a better pilot series. So, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and start out with this first episode, and this one's going to be about power management, weapons management, basically controlling your systems through your ship's HUD. After that, I think the next one's probably going to be the new, like the PIP and the ESP system that the 0.9.2 system came out with, and then we'll just kind of continue to develop from there. So if there's topics you guys want to see, let me know about them. Otherwise, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic and get started. Alright, so let's go ahead and start talking about some of the ship systems here. And just like in previous, builds of this game, we still have the 4 different categories up here: overall, weapons, power, and shield. Now, you can access any of those by using F1 for overall, F2 for weapons, F3 for power, and F4 for shields. You can also do something, if you actually just hit home, you'll actually get a mouse cursor now, which is a huge improvement. You can click weapons, power, overall, it doesn't really matter, that's still great. Now, there's another option that you can do, and this is probably just like the fastest on the fly one, is if you just hold down tab, I guess here, let me put it this way, here I'm flying around in free flight. If I want to make an adjustment to a system, you can hold down tab, which I'm doing right now, and you get that cursor again. Meaning that now you can actually go in and start flipping stuff around if you want to. For me, I'll have to play with that more because I haven't really used it that much. But for me, I kind of just prefer to, tab out, hit home, and then just use my mouse to actually help me out. Now, here on the overall page, we've got some nice things here. And for example, we've got each mantis, the bulldogs on the ball turret, your missiles, and you actually have the ability to now turn these off. So let's just turn off the bulldogs real quick. You can see that they're not powered. I'm going to go ahead and get back into firing mode, and when I go to try and fire the bulldogs, nothing happens. You can see they're grayed out. Now, if I go to fire my mantises, they still work. So that's just kind of an on-the-fly way that you can actually kind of make adjustments that way. So now let's go ahead and just go into more specifics, and let's talk about the weapons. And reassigning weapons to different groups is now a heck of a lot easier than it ever has been to this point. You've got weapons group 1, you've got weapons group 2, and weapons group 3. I can show this to you guys later if you need more weapons in here. For example, I could mount some badgers or something on my Hornet on the nose, so I can do 3 groups if you want, but it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, what I can show you here is if it's got a little checkbox, it's included in this group. So as you saw right now, I've got my mantises on group 2 and my bulldogs on group 1. But let's say I want them all together. I want the simplicity of just pulling the trigger and having everything fire. You can very easily do that, and I'm going to come up here and just click those boxes. So group 1 now contains all of my weapons. So let's go ahead and tab out, and so here's group 2, just my mantises, and here's group 1, everything. Now, keep in mind these weapons are, while they're gimbaled, they have different muzzle velocity, so having different types of weapons on the same firing group is probably not the best option out there, but it's also probably not the worst. So that's how you actually can go in and change that. Now let's say you want to actually make some adjustments and maybe like change up your power. Great. Before, we had to use our number pad keys to move around, and it was really not that effective. It's still kind of set up in this triangle format that we saw before. You've got group 1, group 2, and group 3. Now group 1, and it's a lot easier to tell what the groups are, is going to be your weapon systems, your offensive capabilities. Here you can see you've got your ball turret, the mantises, missiles. It's basically everything that you're going to be firing at people. Group 2 here, you can see, look up here, is invincible quad, that's your shield, and here are your countermeasures, your flares and chaff. That's going to be group 2, defensive capabilities. And then group 3 down here is going to be your maneuvering thrusters and your primary thruster. So group 3 is going to be your engines. Now, you can make adjustments here. The way, if you already got the mouse cursor up, you can just drag it. You can kind of get some customized positions. So example, like right here, I'm going to be favoring weapons. Now, just because I'm favoring one category over the other doesn't mean that the others are not going to work. Basically, with me sitting here, I'm giving more priority of energy to the weapon systems. So what's happening is, most of the time, you can fly around with a higher priority on weapons, and you're going to be fine. And then if you start taking damage, your shields aren't going to last as long. You can see they're sitting at about 20% instead of closer to that 33 mark that we saw before. So if those are lower, basically what that means is they're going to recharge slower, they're going to be dropped faster. And when that sort of thing happens, that's going to be problematic for your survival. So you can kind of game the system a little bit. You know, let's say you're sitting here with 65% power to your weapons. If you notice your shields are starting to drop, you can then go ahead and just stop firing. You know, it's going to reroute the priorities again. So that's going to allocate that energy, that power, so your shields can use that again. You know, same thing. If you want to make a really hard aggressive turn, you can see here that only 14% of the prioritization is going towards your engines and maneuvering. So if you want to pull a really nasty turn, you may not have the energy because you're firing. You could stop firing, get that energy back to be used towards your maneuvering. So you can kind of play around with it a little bit. You know, so that's kind of using this to your advantage in certain scenarios. Now you can also use this based on the situation and the type of game you're in. You know, maybe you're playing Capture the Core and all of a sudden you've got the core and you're trying to return it to your base. Well, shields in defense and then your speed are probably going to be your primary concerns. You're not going to be firing that much if you're just trying to haul ass from point A to point B. If that's the case, maybe a setup like this is going to be more favorable, sacrificing the priority to to your firing weapons and putting those in defense and speed. So you can play around with these. You also have the ability to use a couple of your different keys. For example, you can use 1 to pull it up to G1, 2 to pull it down to G2, and 3 to pull it down to G3. You can do that on any of these. So I'm on the primary screen here on the overview. I'm going to hold 3, which means I should be putting the priority to G3, and there you can see it's there. So there's a couple different ways that you can actually make these sorts of adjustments to get it to what you actually want it to be. I think, and I'll have to kind of test this a little bit more and play with this more, but I think for me, I'm probably going to be favoring weapons just a tad. I mean, maybe like 40 to 45, somewhere in that ballpark, just to give myself a little bit of oomph and try and be more aware of what's happening to me, just so I know I can pull off if I have to, and then, you know, give some more priority back to my defense. Now, the final ones I wanted to talk about here are going to be the shields. And you can see here, again, instead of having to use the numpads, you actually have the ability to just use the mouse cursor and drag it. You can see how these change up here. So, for example, if I go from the middle ground up to the front, you can see how much bigger this is. And this is just a visual representation of how much energy is being allocated where. So here, I'm putting as much power as I possibly can to my front shield. You know, same goes for right, left, back. And you can see you never completely lose shields otherwise. You're not totally screwing yourself, but you are significantly more vulnerable in places that have less of the juice. Again, this is something that's very situational, and you would use based on the situation that you're getting into. So, or maybe it's just based on the ship you use. You know, if you've got an Avenger or an M50 or a 350, maybe those are ships where you are going to be coming in so fast that you can surprise people. Meaning that you're going to come in, deliver your payload, and boom off. Well, what's going to happen is they're going to be firing at you, and chances are they're going to be firing at the rear, because that's all they can see on you since you're, you know, flying away so fast. If that's the case, maybe a setup like this is perfect for you. You know, for a slow-moving Hornet, you know, maybe something that favors the front a little bit better so you can spend more time unleashing your mantises onto your target is better. You know, there's a couple different, you know, scenarios. If you are, again, going from point A to point B and capture the core, you're going to scoot around the right side of the map. People are going to be attacking you from the left. Maybe you give more priority over here because you know people are going to be engaging you from this side. So you've got the ability to make these adjustments, and I think it's going to be there's going to be a little bit of strategy that goes into getting it right. Alright guys, so that's going to pretty much wrap it up for today. Hopefully that helped you guys out. You got something of value from it, and you feel like you're walking away a better pilot. If that did help you out, and you're not yet, please go ahead and subscribe. There's going to be a lot more content coming your way. Other than that, comments, please put them in there if there's something you want to see, or something you're not sure how it works, or if you have questions, or you want advice on something, and I'll try and work them into the system. Ideally, I'd like for it to be a balance of things I want to share with you and what you want to get out of me. So that's it for today. Thanks as always for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.